Good morning, Ram Nation. Welcome into DNVR Rams Live, presented by High Plainz Strains, the Northeastern Colorado dispensary providing top quality cannabis and a wide variety of products. If you give them a visit, make sure you mention DNVR to take advantage of the deals. Hope everybody had a very happy Thanksgiving. If you're a CSU fan, you certainly had an eventful day. Yeah, as Taylor says in the comments, pretty boring day yesterday. CSU men's basketball pulls off a historic win. They take down number 8 Creighton 69-48 out at the Hall of Fame Classic in Kansas City. Dre, that is CSU's highest ranked win in 39 years since they beat number 5 UTEP in Fort Collins. Insanity. Even though they've technically beaten higher ranked teams, is it fair of me to say that this is the biggest regular season win in school history, just given the magnitude, the amount of exposure? I mean, the game has obviously changed in a major way. A school like UTEP's not going to be top 5 in 2023. I just feel like pulling off top 10 wins at this stage, it means so much more given the disparity in resources between high majors and even mid majors.
Yeah, I mean, hard to really say biggest win in school history. It certainly feels like the biggest since you and I have known each other, almost not quite at a decade, but nearing a decade. And I just think for Niko Medvedev's tenure, for what this program has kind of been working towards over the last several years, for Isaiah Stevens's legacy, for all these different factors, it has to be like, if it's not the top win, it's like a co-top win. And just what it means to setting yourself up, the confidence this group must have with how they're playing in the early season, B, going into this Colorado game, which is a huge match, being able to get, potentially 2 ranked team scalps this early in the season. Massive to just stack up those non-conference wins when then, the committee is looking at the field in several months and, potentially being able to get in as an at-large bid. It's just massive, man. It's massive. It's just what the doctor ordered, and what a huge for the Ramley to start Thanksgiving off this way, and then in a couple days be set up on the island to, really tie a bow on this beautiful second year of the Jay Norvell era. If you were able to pull off the dub on the island, everything really coming together, and you love to see that.
Yeah, I think you set that up perfectly. We're going to talk about that matchup with Hawaii. I'm obviously going to give the updated power rankings. We'll give our picks like we do every single week. If you guys don't mind, in the comment section, hitting the like button, I certainly would appreciate it. Happy Black Friday, everybody. Happy Green Friday, actually, since it's the week of the Rams. I'm going to do an audio-only pod where I go really in-depth on the Hall of Fame Classic and talk about, what the Rams did well, why this was so big in the bigger picture. I did want to obviously start the pod by talking a little hoops, though, just because even though it is a must-win situation for football this weekend, this was just a really impressive win. It was a statement victory for this program, as Dre alluded to there. And this was one of the, if not the best defensive performances I've ever seen from a CSU squad. The on-ball pressure was just suffocating. The Rams did a really good job of switching things. The way they hedged some things really gave Creighton some trouble. That's an offense that normally plays with great pace. They knocked down shots, and CSU just had them completely stifled. I mean, took a team that normally scores 92 points a game, held them to less than 50, which is just insanity. It was San Diego State-esque, and I feel like this was a big opportunity for Isaiah Stevens to kind of stamp his case as the premier point guard in college basketball. I truly believe there is not a more skilled point guard in the game. To me, it's a lot like Nikola Jokic. Every year I look at Isaiah Stevens and I just think to myself, there's no way he can be better than he was last year. He can't build off of that. Every year he comes back more skilled. Every year his shot making improves, which is insane because he's just making high level NBA shots and he's creating them for himself all over the floor. Yesterday he had 20 points, 7 assists, 6 boards, only 1 turnover in, the biggest CSU win in the 21st century. I cannot say enough good things about Isaiah Stevens, and it warms my heart because that's a guy that could have gotten a bag at any number of schools in the country. He could have gone overseas and played professionally. Instead, he sticks around. Now he's making a strong case for an All-American campaign. Just may lead the Rams back to the tournament. It's just cool, man. It's cool to see a guy get rewarded for being loyal.
Yeah, and there's nothing better to seeing your stars, the guys you've been rooting for several years, take their game to this kind of level where, Isaiah's just getting to his spots, just
whenever he wants.
He owns the court, right? He gets to his spots. He makes his shots. You want to double team him off the pick and roll. He's finding his man so flawlessly. He's keeping everyone involved, right? He has 20 points, no one else in double figures. And yet there was such a great flow to the offense. Everyone's so engaged defensively. And I think part of that is Isaiah spreading the wealth, leading the charge, really making everyone feel involved. Everyone has their role and is really just executing it flawlessly. Defensively, you're much more of a college hoops head than me. You can get into the technical stuff. What I can say is they made Creighton look like an absolutely average team, not like a squad that has been one of the better college basketball programs in the last 10 years. Their offense just looked pedestrian. They couldn't get anything going. And it's a credit to this entire team by the true term of the word team. They just exemplified that through and through. Nee Clifford, maybe with, statistically speaking, his worst game of the season, but I thought his impact was still felt defensively. He was still able to be a nice offensive outlet when needed. And Bemba was just awesome, man. Just awesome. And how they're able to do it without being like, they're very perimeter oriented, but still the team has such a nice structure to it. Everyone's really getting in the flow. It's just a beauty to see yesterday.
They are perimeter oriented, but I mean, what was huge was this was a game that they won and they weren't even hitting shots. They were ice cold from 3 all game long. They're going to hit way more shots than they did in this one on most nights. One minor correction, Bemba did have 13 points. So one other guy.
Oh, sorry, you're right.
Double-digit figures. Breakout performance for the Austrian true freshman. Wears David Roddy's number. Kind of looks like Roddy out there with the way he can bully guys in the paint. And they certainly needed it with Patrick Cartier going down early in this game with some back pain. Hopefully nothing too serious. Certainly something to monitor. Him and Joel Scott being those twin towers in the front court has been a major part of the success early on here. Again, I'll talk more hoops on an audio-only pod. I did want to just kind of set the scene and talk about this win, though, before we dove into football, because obviously it was just a huge landmark for this program to pull off a top 10 win, first time in close to 40 years. We had a question from Eric in the comments here. I think CSU basketball can compete for a Mountain West championship. What do you think? Yeah, I mean, there's nothing I have seen from this group over the first 6 games that has me, there's no reason to doubt this team. They're deeper. They're more athletic. They're led by a savvy point guard. They play within the system. They're well coached. And I think the biggest credit I can give to this team is how composed they are, how unselfish they are, and just how business-like everything seems to be for them. They're a veteran group. You wondered, would they be able to hit the ground running? Yeah, not a problem at all. And that's why you recruit experienced players and guys that are not only talented, but are going to fit within your system. Guys like Joel Scott and Patrick Cartier and Joe Palmer off the bench, a former D3 guy who I saw somebody tweet, Joe Palmer's not going to get taken first in any pickup game, but that's a guy you want on your team. He's going to dive for every loose ball. He's going to hit shots. I can already see it. Joe Palmer just going off the bench with like 4 threes on a 11 a.m. game in the NCAA tournament. So I think this team has all the potential in the world. I cannot wait. They want.
Where would you rank them, man?
What do you mean in terms of the Mountain West?
When the ranking comes out, the top 25, where would you put the Rams? Like FAU's 19th. They already had a loss. CU lost this week. They were ranked 18th. Is that the range? Do you think they just get votes? Like, obviously, Creighton was 8th. Maybe that's a smidge too high for the Rams right now. But like, what's the range people should expect them to appear in the top 25 when that comes out? And what's maybe like, what would be a high range, what would be an acceptable range, and what would be a range that's worth ringing some fist online about?
I mean, they got one vote last week, so it's not like they were right on the edge there. They were, like 32nd or 33rd or whatever it would have been in the rankings at that stage. They're certainly going to jump a lot of those teams. Yeah. To me, so long as they crack the top 25, I don't think you have a big reason to gripe. The Rams have looked great to start the year. They've taken care of business, but usually, they don't like just jump into the top 20. I'm guessing they come in about 22. That's where I kind of expect to see them. I need to look at the rest of the landscape and see how some of those games played out before I say that definitively. But I do think they'll be higher than like 25, 24. I don't expect them to crack the top 20, but you never know. I mean, this was a really decisive victory. The Rams do have some brand recognition, I think, as a basketball program under Nico Medved, just because of what they've done these last couple of years. But this is huge. I mean, I certainly thought this team was going to be better than projected. The national conversation, even really going into this game, kind of had CSU as the 5th best team and what's projected to be a really good league, and it's looked that way. To me, I think they're clearly top 2 or 3. Yeah. I think San Diego State and CSU have by far been the most impressive. Nevada as well. I definitely need to shout out Nevada. They've been great. But the Rams got 3 big games here coming up. CU, then they got Washington in Vegas before St. Mary's comes to Fort Collins as well. So going to be really fun in Fort Collins Wednesday night. I'll be there. The Buffs crew will be there. We'll have RG there. Going to be awesome. Before we move on, talk a little bit of Mo Kamara, which is awesome. We got Dre, the draft expert, on to talk about his draft stock before we set the keys for Hawaii. I did want to shout out CSU Volleyball as well.
Yes.
They're riding a 4-game win streak, 4 straight sweeps, playing for the Mountain West Championship this evening, trying to get revenge against Fresno State, who they lost to 3-2 in Fort Collins earlier this year. I'm not a volleyball expert. You guys know that. But I obviously am a big fan of the program, hoping to see them continue the success. We had a question from Sterling, I guess, before we move on. Mountain West Network for free. So you can watch on the Mountain West app. Really awesome. We had a question from Sterling. What would the Achilles heel of this CSU basketball team be? Honestly, and I said this about San Diego State last year, so I have precedent with this argument. I think they're so deep, it's going to be hard to keep everybody happy. I mean, Tavy Jackson is just getting back from injury. He's going to want to be a part of the rotation. Kyle Evans is a guy who came in and made an impact yesterday because Cartier went down, but he is below Bemba in the rotation as of now. I mean, it's a tough spot when you have 11, 12 guys that are capable of playing real minutes in the Mountain West. I mean, Javonte Johnson's a guy that started at New Mexico. He, barely cracks the rotation here at CSU this year. So it's tough when you have that many guys to balance everything. There are going to be guys that have breakout performances because of circumstance like yesterday and then have to go back to the bench. How do they manage that? It's just human nature. So I really think that is the toughest spot, is they have so many guys and they have some young guys that expected to make a jump this year, and things change. Isaiah Stevens comes back for a 5th year. You bring in a guy like Joel Scott, who's a 5th year veteran, and all of a sudden he's taking those front court minutes. It's a lot of quality basketball players, but sometimes it's hard to balance that. But let's move on. Let's talk football. I want to get into the draft stuff with Dre real quick. High Plainz Strains provides top quality cannabis and a wide variety of products. Check them out for all your needs. They've got infused edibles, high potency concentrates, some of the best flower in the state. There's 3 locations for High Plainz Strains. They've got one on Log Lane Village, one in Garden City, one in Sedgwick. If you're in northeastern Colorado, they are the dispensary for you. You can save time by ordering ahead online at highplainstrains.com. You can pick up at their locations, and today's a perfect day for this with the snowy weather. They've got drive-thrus. You don't even have to get out of your car. Today's Green Friday. Get a half ounce for $45. You can get a full ounce for $80. That's a killer deal. They have Veritas 8s for $25, Mammoth 1 gram cartridges for $15. Exquisite extracts are 4 for $40. Use that code DNVR online or mention DNVR in stores to take advantage of these High Plainz Strains holiday deals. Also, when you get hurt, Backus and Schenker, they are here to help. Backus and Schenker has been helping Colorado families for more than 25 years. They're free until they win money in your case. There's no fees up front. There's no fees while they work on your case. No fee unless they win your case and win money for you. They've won over $1 billion for their clients. They have locations in Denver, Aurora, Inglewood, and Fort Collins, but they serve the entire state of Colorado. They have the strength and power to win your case with more than 30 lawyers, 100 staff. Backus and Schenker helps all kinds of injury cases where you weren't at fault. Car accident, motorcycle, rideshare, pedestrians, trucks. They can even help if you're injured at work. Call Backus and Schenker at 222-2222 to find out if you have a case for free. Backus and Schenker wins. All right, Trey. That was a lot of monologuing by me, so I'm sorry. Mo Kamara, though, I want to pick your brain. You're the signature draft expert at DNVR. Jake and I, we hop on the pod, but it really is your show. Mo Kamara currently listed as Mel Kiper's number 6 edge rusher for this 2024 class, a guy that we've been high on for a couple of years. I'm curious, where do you see Mo Kamara going realistically in terms of round, and what are his biggest strengths as an NFL prospect?
Yeah, 6 defensive end. There are also some off-ball linebackers. I actually found that interesting because I think part of Mo's appeal is that he could play as a hand-in-the-ground 4-3 defensive end, but he could play as a stand-up edge, just like Shaq Barrett made that transition, if you will, to the NFL. Mo, we've seen him in space, right? I thought he had to play
That's where
more
I
as
see
a
him,
linebacker.
to be honest, is more of that off-ball.
Yeah. And I mean, he's got that versatility in space. He's far from lost. And I mean, that was more where he was playing when Scott Patchin and Tobey Maguire were on the Tobey McBride were on the slide. Geez, blast from the past, Maguire. So I think that ranking is interesting. The big thing for Mo is going to be his size, listed at 6'1", 250 pounds. His arms look super long to me. That's like one of his top traits, on top of his motor and his power. His power is just unbelievable. We talk about it in scouting a lot, speed to power as edge rushers, and he exemplifies that to where he can take off wide, get into your pads, and then that power translates instantly, where then he can find a more direct path, counter you to the inside, and that's where he's been one of the best pass rushers in the country, just looking at raw production the last couple seasons. That's why he has 12 sacks this season, why he has 16 and a half tackles for a loss. It's why we've seen him take over games in some of the most important moments. We saw it a bit against Nevada last week. We saw it, that Middle Tennessee game will always stand in my head. CU obviously had a dominant game until the ejection in overtime. And he plays with just such natural leverage. He plays so low to the ground. So, and long arms, power, he's got an elite first step. And you add that to this terrific motor, the fact that he's not lost in space, moves pretty well laterally. He checks off a lot of really important boxes on top of that production. The big question for him is going to be, how does that power as the anchor trait, if you will, translate to hit to the next level, where obviously the offensive tackles you're going against are much bigger, much more powerful. And is that going to still be the way you win on most, down in, down out? Or are you having to rely a bit more on more well-rounded pass rush moves, which I actually think he's pretty advanced in? And how much will that size become a deterrent at the next level when power is your biggest thing? Agility may be the one trait where he's a bit more average for those super duper superhuman NFL type of standards, where maybe the bend, even though he plays with such great natural leverage. There are guys who can just bend a little more naturally in this club, in this draft class. I think of a guy like Chop Robinson at Penn State. So I think he should firmly be in that day 2 of the draft, rounds 2 and 3, where I kind of have Torrey Horton projected as well. I think who's the better NFL prospect between those two is a really fun debate for Rams fans as we go into the offseason and we get into draft season. There are some guys from premier programs in the Power 5 who are going to be ranked a little higher. Latu out of UCLA, Jared Verse out of Florida State. Alabama has a couple guys, Dallas Turner being the headliner. And then there are other guys who haven't shown the production Mo's shown, but the upside might feel more enticing, right? Because they have that size or what have you. So I think Mo should be in that that second, third tier of edge rushers, which should go in that round 2 or 3 in this class. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's a guy who ends up translating better than the projections had it, just because he checks off so many boxes. He's a kid whose character-wise we believe in. The production speaks for itself. And I think he's a really interesting debate with other productive edge rushers in this class. I think of a Jonah Ellis, who you're high on, Justin, from Utah, who has similar production, but I don't know that Jonah Ellis's game is as complete. I don't know if he wins and creates pressure on a down in, down out like Mo does, you know. So that's that range I see him in. I mean, what a great player. What a terrific player. He's going to go up there with the guys that we've talked about in the last 10 years, Shaq, Trey, obviously, as like some of those tippy top prospects to come out of the program who will have long careers in the NFL.
Nailed it. I mean, I don't have a ton to add. I'm right there with you. I'm really excited to see what happens with Mo. Very similarly to what I said about Isaiah Stevens, it warms my heart to see a guy like Mo get rewarded. You know, he could have got a bag from Power 5 schools, decided to stick around, stay with Freddie Banks, stay with Buda Williams. And, you know, now he has a chance to play his way into the Rams history books, already has, but a chance to do even more so. Torrey, we'll have to see. I'm right there with you. To me, Torrey should not go later than the 3rd round. I have heard some stuff that some NFL scouts have him more like 4th to 6th round right now, just because of some durability concerns. Doesn't have a ton of contested catches on film. Just, you know, some stuff where you're poking, you're poking holes, which is just how that process works, obviously. I do think the possibility of Torrey coming back is much greater than most people in his position. We'll have to see. Don't want to get Ram fans too excited or anything like that. No matter what happens, I'll certainly be rooting for him and thankful that he chose to come to CSU after Nevada. But let's talk about this game on Saturday night, because we're 25 minutes in, and we got to talk about a must-win situation for the Rams on the island against Timmy Chang, my guy. A couple of DNVR Rams guys, Timmy Chang and now Danny Gonzalez with New Mexico beating Fresno State last week, picking up big wins over the last couple weeks. Warms my heart. You know, what are your thoughts on CSU coming off of that Nevada win? Game that was closer than it should have been. You had a disastrous pick 6 to end the first half, but you know, outside of that, you give up one offensive score. The defense continues to play well. They ran the football well. Just kind of building on what we've seen in the trends these last couple weeks.
Some ways that feels like it could be similar-ish matchup to Utah State, in that this is going to be a pesky Hawaii offense that you don't quite know what you're going to get. You know, if they're on, they're on. If they're off, they're off.
That's a great point.
It's a great way to start this segment by talking about Mo Kamara. The defense and guys like Mo really have to be the difference in this one, because if there is a huge advantage that the Rams have, it's on that side of the ball. No way, no how, no doubt about it. And Mo in that front taking over the game, especially in the second half, to me is one of the keys. Got to find more consistency on this offense, man. You got to find more consistency, because on paper, there is no doubt the Rams have far superior talent. Just in the trenches alone, the how much we've praised this offensive line and the improvements they've made. Well, that alone should be the difference in this game. The running game you found last week against Nevada, that alone should be the difference. But honestly, I think BFN has to come out ready to play on the road. It's where he started his career, and we've praised him for being so poised and having some of his best moments in his early career on the road. Well, you got to do it here. Final road game of the season, final road game in his first full season as a starter. Make a statement, get that bowl eligibility, because BFN has just been too inconsistent. I want to see him get in a rhythm with that passing game, stand in the pocket, get those intermediate throws out quick. That's where he's so good. Get all this talent at wide receiver involved, because if you do that, this should be a blowout, man. It should be an absolute blowout. But with how these two teams have played all season, right, we don't quite know what we're going to get on Saturday. You never quite know what Rams team are we going to see. But more importantly, what Hawaii team are we going to see? Because they've really been the neurotic squad this year. I mean, they upset Air Force. They've looked terrible at times. You know, you just do not know. An at-home final home game of the year with kind of playing with house money, I do worry about Hawaii.
It's a wonky situation. We respect the island on this podcast. We just know what can happen there. We witnessed it with Air Force 2 weeks ago. You know, as you mentioned, they go to Laramie last week and look a lot more human. They tend to play much better at home than they do on the road, which makes sense. Shout out to the Oso Blanco. We do have a super chat here. Lots of great things going right now in Ram country. Let's get this dub. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, man. Appreciate you and everybody in the comment section, everybody getting up early with me, spending just a little bit of this holiday week with me. I unfortunately can't spend Thanksgiving with my family just with so much work going on. I got to do these shows. It doesn't work out. They're out in the middle of nowhere, Kansas. So, I tried to go live from where my family's currently at. It'd be interesting to say the least, but we get all of this constant support from everybody in Ram Nation, and it certainly means the most to me. And, there's nothing I'd rather do than talk about a big CSU hoops win and a must-win situation for football on the island. Got a little sappy there, got a little sentimental, got a little off the rails. I'll bring it back to what Dre was saying. I'm right there with you. I think this is a situation where you do need to lean on that run game again. Hawaii gives up 176 rush yards a game. That's what CSU has averaged over these last 2 wins. That, right there, run the football, get Justin Marshall involved. Hopefully Avery Morrow's able to go. We'll have to see. Left last game, unfortunately, but you've got Van Shield as well. And you got to hit on some of these throws. While BFN did make some big plays last week, the touchdown to Lewis Brown, especially in that fourth quarter, was a great response after Nevada misses a field goal, kind of the kill shot after, it looked like it might get a little tight there down the stretch. But he said it himself. I mean, this was a game where they left some meat on the bone. Torrey was open deep a couple of times. They had one to Goffney where Goffney dropped it. That one actually wasn't on Braden. That was on the receiver. But it's just those little moments, that allows a team to hang around. Instead of being up 2 scores, it's only a 1-score game at halftime because a really dumb pick six. And I said it on the post-game show. Yes, you should be able to be aggressive and play for points there. Honestly, I felt like the decision was kind of asking for something bad to happen, just given that spot, take the 2-score lead into the break and, not put yourself in that spot when you have a young quarterback. But also it, should have made the tackle, which is basically what Jay said as well. I thought somebody would tackle him, which is definitely a fair point for, explaining why they thought they were in a good spot. You didn't think you'd give up a 70-yard pick six in that spot. Is just, that's the thing. You can't beat yourself in this one. You can't turn the football over. You can't have those untimely penalties where instead of 3rd and long, you pick up a face mask and all of a sudden it's 15 yards the other way. Those little things that have just allowed teams to hang around when the Rams have built leads and have ultimately, come back to hurt them when they've lost tight games.
Mm-hmm. Does it scare you a smidge that they're in this situation for bowl eligibility and it's a game that they like? Hawaii is playing with all the house money. The Rams have all the expectations. Does that scare you a smidge?
Yeah, but I mean, that was the case last week with Nevada
Yeah,
too. I mean, all the
it was.
pressure's on you.
Mhm.
They especially want to play spoilers. I mean, Hawaii wants to win. They want to end the season on a positive note under Timmy
Yeah,
Chang. They're kind of like New
absolutely.
Mexico, where it's, even though you can't finish the year with a winning record, you're trying to, like keep building and moving forward. Similarly to what we saw from CSU at the end of last year, where they shut out New Mexico on senior day. No, it wasn't a great season, but you end on the high note. You feel good going into the offseason. Yeah, I mean, historically, situations where all the pressure's on CSU, that's a tough spot to be in,
Yeah,
especially going to the island. I hate that circumstance even more. But
yeah,
at the same time, I'll go back to what you said. On paper, when you look at the disparity in talent between these two teams, this is a game you should expect to win. And if you can't go and beat, a Hawaii team with a losing record, you don't deserve to be in the postseason. And there's been a lot of great things that have happened this year. There've been a lot of missed opportunities too. I mean, this could be a 9-win team, really realistically.
yeah, yeah.
You could also argue,
100%. And I think
it
this
could
one,
be like a 4-win team, but go
yeah,
ahead, sorry.
no, I mean, that's absolutely right. They've been in a lot of close ones. They've surprised us in games we thought maybe they wouldn't be super competitive. And I mean, the fact that they were that close to UNLV, knowing what we know now about UNLV, says so much. Says so much. But this is a game that, and I hate to put this on some football players that will go down as some great football players, regardless of how Saturday goes. But your veteran leaders need to make sure they end their careers the right way, need to make sure everyone's ready to play, need to understand the importance of this game, and that you're not coming out and getting punked and getting beat by a Hawaii team that shouldn't be able to hang. And it's guys like Mo, it's guys like Holker, it's guys like Tori, whether he plays or not, who really need to be like, yo, this ends here. We're starting a new cycle of Rams football. We're raising the standards, and like it starts on the island. Enjoy the fact that you're in Hawaii. You're not out there in the snow and Foco, and like put it on them. And this is the last game of the rest of your lives type deal. Like it's all on the line, and it's time to get it.
The one thing that makes me feel good about this, just in terms of avoiding it, is the demeanor after that Nevada win was very, yes, we're glad we took care of business on senior day, but the mission's not
Love it.
done and they're locked in. I do think this is a group that's just sick and tired of losing. Like, Jack Howell, he talked about his family. His dad's one of the greatest players in program history. His sister is one of the truly elite women's soccer players in the country. So it's just, he's not a guy that takes kindly to losing. When I think about Blackburn and Kamara and these guys that have been through it for 4 years, I do have faith in this group. And I just think that it has been a tough one, but I think we're seeing the right trends now. You can't
Mm-hmm.
give up a bunch of explosive plays. I like that you brought up Utah State because, Stephen McBride, Kansas transfer at receiver, he's a really speedy guy. They do have an ability to like quick strike and, kind of, you can be playing great football for 18 minutes and all of a sudden Hawaii hits, on a couple of 40-yard plays and they're right back in it. You got to prevent those. Defense has done a great job of that these last couple of weeks after giving up 467 yards per game and 25 first downs over those first 7 weeks. They've cut that down to 307 yards per game. So cut 160 yards per game and only 19 first downs allowed over these last 4. That's winning football.
Dude, 100%. And I mean, like this is where it's at. Like I was talking about early in the season, it felt like the team was still, like you could just see in the videos post game and the locker room celebrations, and like this was still a pretty new feeling, and I think there's some maturing and graduating to where this is more just the expectation and what that means for Jay Norvell and what that means for this program going forward. What ending the season on a high note means, I think, is massive. So I'm really excited, man. I am really excited for it.
I'm really excited as well. Question from Eric just before we get into those power rankings here and our picks. He thinks CSU men's basketball will get consideration for the top 25. We talked about this earlier, but yes, I absolutely think they will be in the top 25 after beating a top 10 team. They're 6-0. They were already flirting
They
with the
should
top
be.
25 going in. Yeah, and I mean, if they beat CU, I think they'll be a top 20 team. So a lot to be excited about with Ram country right now. We're going to get into our power rankings. We're going to get into our picks. There's so much to be thankful for: family, friends, food, NFL football all week long, CSU football, CSU basketball, CSU volleyball. Man, is it a good time. And DraftKings Sportsbook is keeping your Thanksgiving week full of action. New customers bet $5 on NFL action, score 150 instantly in bonus bets. No matter your appetite, there's something for you. Money lines, parlays, props, live bets, so much more. You name it, they've got it. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the code DNVR. New customers can bet $5 on the NFL Thanksgiving action, score 150 instantly in bonus bets only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. With the code DNVR, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. Please play responsibly. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Must be 21 or older in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. State-specific responsible gambling resources are available. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms. Whew, Dre, while I catch my breath, who has the best shades in all of the land?
Shady Rays, you know it, man. My favorite shades. There's no doubt about it. I am a big shades guy, but I also hate having to spend, big time bucks on something that I like having 4 or 5 pairs to pick from. I like leaving them in the car, forgetting them out the office and not being like, oh shit, I forgot $150 designer brand sunglasses. And that's what Shady Rays does. Same quality, same awesome lenses, same awesome designs. And it's at a third of the price if you're being realistic. And as if that wasn't good enough, right now for the holidays, we have an amazing deal exclusive for our listeners right there on the ticker. Shady Rays is giving best deal of the season. You can go to their website, shadyrays.com. You use our code exclusive for you, DNVR, and you get $50 off 2 pairs or more. Then they have all sorts of other add-ons. I mean, Shady Rays makes it to where you can get 3 pairs of elite glasses for under $25 each. It's amazing. I cannot say how much I love their product, their selection, and how great they've been to work with. Check out their website, shadyrays.com, and use that code. And also, Justin, Black Friday, baby. Black Friday, you can get this gem. You can get the shirt with the logo Justin has. Justin, fresh that hat. It's a beaut, that DNVR hat right there. I mean, we've got it all. I think hats and hoodies, $10 off. Shirts, all sorts of great deals. Might still have some Roddy shirts in stock. Who knows? We've put out some awesome Ram stuff. I'm obviously biased, but I think it is the best stuff you can find around. Honestly, sports gear is a real issue because it's kind of all owned by one company and it's trash, generic trash. I'm so glad that we can provide something different, something that comes from the heart, something that comes from a great Colorado designer, a Ram himself, the man, the myth, the legend, Eric Weedham. Support DNVR. Get some great gifts for all the sports fans in your family. DNVRlocker.com. Deals going right now. We don't do deals ever. Get in on it because now's the time, man.
Dre said it, man. Get in before you miss out. Some really great deals on officially licensed CSU gear as well. Not only is it fly, but it is official as can be. Let's get into our power rankings and we'll wrap up with some picks. I will have another audio only podcast where I talk more about hoops because, man, this Rams team is hot right now. And I am just very, very excited about what's happening with that program under Nico Medved. But of course, we talk plenty of football as well. Let's get into the power rankings. The bottom 4, you could kind of play musical chairs with. I struggle. So we shuffled it a little bit from last week. We'll start at the bottom. Number 12, I've got Nevada. I think it's just they had some positive momentum going. They hung tough against CSU. I mean, hats off for playing a tough game. You figured they would. That was probably the best they've looked all season. But it's just not a good football team. And Ken Wilson will very likely not be back.
Yeah, what can you say?
I mean, that's really all we can say.
Sorry.
We don't have to spend a ton of time on some of these bottom teams. At 11, we're going San Diego State. The Aztecs fought hard against San Jose State 24-13. Again, you know, all things considered, a decent game considering where those teams have been trending, but just not a good football team, and another team that'll have a different head coach next season. Number 10, depths. They were at 12 last week. They move up 2 spots. We've got the New Mexico Lobos. My guy, Danny G, maybe saved his job with not just a win, but a dominant win against Fresno State. They kicked their ass in the trenches, really validated some of the complaints that Dre had about the Bulldogs in recent weeks. Good for him. I really hope they're patient, because I think that program is close to turning a corner here.
Yeah, and they deserve this 10th spot, right? Like, the momentum is they're closing out in the right way. Definitely deserve to be there. Look, in a neutral site, maybe New Mexico and Diego State, if you were to make a line, maybe the Aztecs still just slightly favored, but New Mexico, with the momentum they've got coming off that week, definitely deserve to at least be 10th.
I've got Hawaii at 9. I know they did just get stomped by Wyoming in Laramie, but that's a tough travel spot for Hawaii, going to Laramie in November. I mean, it's just kind of to be expected. I'd hate the opposite for if I was Wyoming. You know, again, reason to feel a little bit nervous if you're a CSU fan. It's not a great travel spot, but Hawaii has been competitive over the last couple of weeks. They did have, I think they had won like 3 of 4 before that. So all things considered, kind of trending in the right direction.
Yeah, they're top of the last tier. I think that's about the best they could aspire to this season.
Couldn't have said it better. Now is where we get complicated, because we have some really wonky head-to-head results this season that could really poke holes in some of this. But also, I'm kind of factoring in, like, where are you at right now? Not where were you in early October. And so I've got Utah State at 8. They're just so inconsistent, and they're one of those teams, like, if they won 41-38 against UNLV, you wouldn't be surprised. You also wouldn't be surprised if they lost by 10 to New Mexico. And it's just, they're so up and down. They have a lot of explosiveness, but yeah, man, they got beat in a major way by Boise last week. And it kind of feels like they may have peaked there in about late October.
Fun team. You just don't know what to get. And I think right now, even though we know when they played head to head, the story was different. I think the Rams, with where both programs are currently in the season, do deserve to be ahead of Utah State, but it's debatable. No doubt about that, man.
Well, I mean, I get it. If you just want to look at that one game sample size, Utah State played them, but it's more complex than that. And we have a lot of head to head to compare. And again, it's just kind of, where are you trending? CSU trending in the right direction. I think if they played today, CSU would win. I thought they would win when they played back in October, and the Rams were up by 17 points at one point in that game, but that's old history. So we've got CSU at number 7, up 2 spots from number 9, now on a 2-game win streak, looking to extend it to 3. Defense is in the right direction. They're finally running the football. I think they could flirt with that 6-5 spot, here in the next couple of weeks, but we need to see a little bit more consistency offensively.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, is where could you see this Rams team peaking in your power rankings? But yeah, this is maybe the Mountain West middle class. The top 6 is, as of now, with what they've done throughout the whole season, probably reasonable to put ahead of Colorado State and Utah State at this point.
Yeah, you could. I almost put Fresno State at 7 and CSU at 6, but Fresno's an 8-win team, and while I do think they're struggling and they're trending in the wrong direction, I think they win this week against San Diego State. It's tough to argue that a 9-win team is not at least in the top half of the conference. They have multiple Power 5 wins on the road this year. Like, it's a pretty good resume, all things considered, despite getting manhandled by Danny Gonzalez's Lobos. If you're listening in Albuquerque, keep my guy Danny G. I'm telling you, he's the guy to turn it around. I really like him. I think he's a good football coach, and I just think it's an impossible situation like that you would have to give a little more leeway to than you would at most programs. 5 Air Force, man. They're Air Force and Fresno, after being the top 2 teams essentially this entire year, now not even in the top 4.
Air Force's defense kind of falling apart.
It's all falling apart. They're turning the ball over. They've got discipline issues all of a sudden. They're committing penalties. They're giving up big plays. Like, I mean, the wheels have really fallen off.
It's almost like their season's been in reverse, right? Like there was a lot of kind of different changeover at some key positions, especially offensively. And you would have expected this in the early season and then them to find their groove and play how they did in the early season later. The fact that that's been reversed is really hard to comprehend. Yeah, they've kind of lost it. I mean, in some ways, I think I saw the early signs for Air Force and Fresno State. I didn't stay true to my predictions with Air Force. And thus I've picked them incorrectly for like a month. I was correct about Fresno, and they've proved me right. Really interesting. And geez, your next team kind of falls in that same batch.
Again, yeah, just very all over the place. We've got Wyoming at 4. They're coming off of a big win against Hawaii, but they had a couple week stretch there where it's just up and down. I mean, Jekyll and Hyde, they're great at home. They're kind of terrible on the road. I don't really understand it, but I do think that defensively they're tough enough. And I believe in their offensive identity right now under Andrew Peasley. He's playing really good football. They can run the ball. I would trust them more now than I would in Air Force or Fresno State. And that's kind of a testament to Craig Bull's coaching, but also Andrew Peasley, a veteran quarterback, kind of doing enough and just not hurting the team. Like he's making the plays when they're there, they're running the football, and he's not hurting the team, which is something he did with turnovers in years past.
100%. And then this top 3 is a top 3 you never would have predicted in the preseason. You wouldn't have predicted at the end of September, frankly. So just beautiful. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but it has really been a fun season in the Mountain West with kind of the changeover we've seen and some of the squads that we haven't always seen at the top of the league, making a push. Though at 3, it's kind of an old customer.
Yeah, we got some brand recognition here with Boise State slowly but surely, after I think dropping as low as 7 at one point a couple weeks ago, have now climbed their way back. Really feels like they're going to handle Air Force at home. They're a touchdown favorite. We'll get into that in just a second here, and then we're going to get that Boise State UNLV title game where, I mean, how Mountain West would it be where Boise's down all year, they still win the league, spoil UNLV's Cinderella season. I can see it now, but
hey, man, and you can watch that game thinking the Rams didn't allow UNLV to score a single touchdown, right? Didn't they hold them to field goals that entire game?
Yeah,
and we're within goals. 3, the chance to win. And Boise, of course, the only team in this top 8 that the Rams have come away with the W. So, some good signs of things to
just
come.
Might have had a chance. Probably should have beat both teams in that title game. San Jose State at 2, they're red hot right now. They play UNLV. There are some wonky tiebreaker scenarios where I think maybe they can still get into the title game. Mountain West using computer rankings it's a whole different debate, but they're just really hot right now with Chevin Cordero 4-2 in league play. Should have beat Boise, could very easily be 5-1. And at the top here, the UNLV Running Rebels, who went into Colorado Springs. They were down double digits, really asserted their will as that game went on, ran the football, made some big explosive plays. Huge credit to Barry Odom. I'm not so sure he's gonna be around next year. And honestly, I'm sorry for even saying that, UNLV fans, because I've gotten so annoyed every time I see, great stuff for CSU basketball. Where's Nico Medved heading next? I don't need to frame it that way. We'll let everybody else frame it that way. Shout out to UNLV. Awesome season. I hope they win the league. I really do.
Rank them, you cowards. Rank them. They deserve to be ranked 100%, man. One of the great stories in all of college football. I frankly think the national college football media has really dropped the ball and isn't talking about the squad nearly enough. Just a beautiful, beautiful story that should frankly give fan bases across the nation hope that you too can run into a magical season like this and find a turnaround, because it's just been awesome, man. And I think they've got some long-term juice. I think they've got some long-term juice in with what may come with the Mountain West, doing this in Nevada with a program like UNLV. I think there's some sustainability that this might be more than just a Cinderella season.
Especially in a revamped, Pac-10, Pac-12, whatever it ends up being these
Right.
next couple of years. I mean, Vegas is really ascending as a sports market as a whole. The NBA is coming to Vegas soon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm right there with you. I mean, we've long said it could be a sleeping giant, but I do think that some circumstances with the growth within Vegas as a whole have really helped their cause there. Let's get our picks in, and then let's get on out of here. Let people enjoy their Black Friday. Hopefully, most of you guys are able to be off, enjoy some of these fun football and college basketball games. Starting with the Friday games, we've got New Mexico taking on Utah State. Utah State 5-point favorites on the road. Give me the Lobos. Maybe it's a tough spot because Utah State coming off of a big loss to Boise State at home. New Mexico coming off of a big road win. Does New Mexico get too high on themselves? Can Utah State rebound on the road after getting spanked in a must-win scenario? I think the Aggies are trending in the wrong direction, and I like New Mexico to at least keep it close. So give me the Lobos to cover the 5.
And it's at New Mexico, just so we're clear. We kind of wrote them in reverse again. But yeah, I mean, at face value, New Mexico feels really right. Feels a bit like a cheesy line. I'm going to go with Utah State. Utah State finds the right gear, house money, kind of everything in front of them. They too are playing for a bowl, are they not?
Yeah, they 5-6, much like CSU.
So that means a bit more. I mean, honestly, it's two teams that come fairly motivated to this final game of the season, despite both having losing records. Give me Utah State, but I hate it, which makes me love the pick, right? We're betting uncomfortably, so that's how we do it. Yes.
All right, we've got Boise State hosting Air Force. Boise State 7-point favorites in this one. Ashton Jeanty is going to be in. They did lose Maddox Madsen, so it's all going to be Taylon Green, but I just think Boise State
which might be great
down their throat. Yeah, and I mean, I think Taylon Green's more dynamic, can do things athletically that Madsen can't do anyways. Give me Boise State to win this one and secure their spot in the Mountain West Championship. My bad, Tiff, on these teams. I wrote them all backwards, I guess, but Boise State 7-point favorites. I like the Broncos to cover.
7 feels like a lot. I hate this spread. I would lean Air Force on the spread.
I'd like 5.5 a lot more.
Yeah, 100%. I do think Boise gets them outright and goes to the Mountain West Championship, and I really like under 45. I think two teams that'll run the ball, shorter game, and in some ways it'll feel like two triple option teams, even though that's not what Boise State runs. But yeah, I love the
under. Like Air Force to cover the 7?
Spread. I like Air Force to just barely cover the 7, yes.
I like it. We need a little bit of disparity here.
Yeah.
UNLV, 2.5-point favorites at home against San Jose State, two of the hottest teams in the league. Kind of feels like a situation where UNLV could look ahead a little bit. I could see a spot where like this San Jose State offense gets rolling. I've talked myself into it. I'm going the Spartans. I think the better quarterback gets it done, and that's what I'm leaning on at this stage of the season. Give me San Jose State in an upset.
Yeah, we agree, man. They're battle tested, so the road won't phase them. UNLV, such a good team. Will they have that high-end gear to match some of the stuff San Jose State can do offensively with their quarterback? And I mean, this is just a classic, right? I talk up UNLV, I say rank them, you cowards, and then they lose on the final week. It sets up beautifully. Give me San Jose State. This should be the one consensus game we have. That would make me feel amazing about all these picks.
Me too. I think that would just be really a strong indicator of where we are in terms of being locked in on this league.
Exactly.
Nevada versus Wyoming. Wyoming 11-point favorites versus the Wolfpack on the road, where they tend to struggle. Give me Nevada to cover the 11, even though it's a team that's trending in the wrong direction. I don't know, man. That would be like classic. Wyoming's been bad on the road all year. They could kind of put it on them. The Craig Bowl doubters get silenced a little bit. I talked myself into it. I'm going Wyoming. I don't like it. No part of me likes it, but I think that's the smart play.
Yeah, I am too. I think Wyoming just kind of grinds this one out. Craig Bull has his guys playing ready, and they just have some answers offensively that Nevada lacks. So that's where I'm going to go. I'm going poke on this one.
Especially coming off of the CSU loss, which was Nevada's Super Bowl. Like, let's be honest, that's the one they wanted the most. I think that's a really deflating way to lose. You were right there, had a chance to tie in the fourth quarter, still end up losing by double digits. Like, it's just
and you know this, J Mike, like there are some seasons where things have gone so poorly that ending the year as a big dog at home is actually the worst thing possible.
Like CSU with Adazio in 2021, where you just get absolutely curb stomped by a superior Nevada team, 52-10. I'm right there with you. I'm glad we thought that one through.
Thank you.
San Diego State versus Fresno State. The Aztecs 5.5-point home dogs. Fresno State trying to rebound from a disastrous New Mexico game. I don't love the spread because I do think San Diego State defensively can do enough to pressure Fresno State. I don't know if Mikey Keene's going to start. He's been injured, and then he ended up coming in late in the fourth quarter, and I'm like, if he was good enough to play, why didn't he just start? I didn't understand that at all from a coach who I very much respect in Tedford, just saying it was a decision that didn't really make much sense to me. Uncomfortably, the Bulldogs cover the 5.5 on the road.
I think so too. It's a good defensive matchup, and I think like Fresno's just gonna outshine them on both sides of the ball. Again, can having your coach on his last legs, can having such a disappointing season end at home actually be a deterrent for San Diego State? And give me the under. This feels like another under 46. But yes, Fresno State consensus here as well. Okay.
This is like the Mountain West version of Nebraska, Iowa, basically. Not quite that. I mean, Fresno's offense historically the last couple years has been awesome, but
it's kind of I like that. I like that analogy.
All right. Game of the week, man. CSU 5.5-point favorites on the island. Oh man, I'm tend to think the Rams win. I wonder if they cover. I'm gonna say they do. I'm gonna say CSU covers the 5.5. I think it's a close game. I think it's a tight one, but I think it's one where the Rams get that run game going and kind of pull away late, end up winning roughly like 30-20-ish.
I do my best to not blow smoke on this podcast. You are far too prepared. Our audience has been through far too much as Rams fans. When I was jinxing lines, I told you we steered against from that because it wasn't working, and that's actually worked out quite nicely for us. I think they stomp them, man. I think they stomp them. I think they put a kind of exclamation mark at the end of this season. I think those vets I was talking about needing to step up, needing to be the guys that kind of lead this team into this final week, get it done. And I just think the superior talent on paper shines through. This is a full-on business trip, And we're going to look back in a couple years and be like, yeah, that's how they ended that 2023 season, kind of set the tone with where we are now. And I think where we are now might be a pretty cool place in just a couple seasons. Give me the Rams by $1 million. I would buy this up to -7 and crank that up. It's time, man. This is the nightcap we need on a Saturday, and they can't let us down. They can't let us down. It's now or never. This is the time. So yeah, I believe.
Preach, baby, preach. I believe. Always proud to be. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. It's been an awesome football season. I hope we get to keep talking football for another couple weeks here. Obviously, we'll talk recruiting and all that stuff as we get towards the early signing period, but it just would mean so much to these fans. I think it would mean so much to these players that have been through quite a bit these last couple of years. And even within this 12-game season, all the noise before and after the CU game, which was obviously a unique circumstance. I mean, just the excitement of beating Boise, but then the disappointment of losing back-to-back rivalry games again. It's just been all over the place, but I'm with Dre. I think this team is battle-tested. I think they're in the right spot, and I think we see them go out and get that Rams victory. Now, time and time again, CSU over the years, they've been hard. There have been a lot of spots where you're excited. Oh, they're going to turn the corner. They didn't.
Yes. They've been disappointing. I think they've built a callus. Our guitar players. Takes a minute, right? Takes like a few days before you build that callus. I think the Rams with winning have built that callus into 12 weeks into this season. And here we see it against a team that has not. And, how soft their fingers are versus how calloused ours are makes the difference. Come on, man. Let's go.
Let's get her done. Eric, yes, I do believe that Barry Odom should be the Mountain West Coach of the Year. I don't even think it's a conversation after the turnaround we've seen with that program. But thank you to everybody.
As we've talked about Saban having maybe his best season ever and deserving Coach of the Year, Odom probably deserves it over even Saban. Like what he has done in this turnaround, no way, no how.
Point. I mean, it's historic. It's literally unprecedented with this program, what he is doing. It's kind of like Tim Miles last year and the insane job he did at San Jose State on the hoop side. So it's been a really fun year. Like Dre said, it's been a blast talking about this with everybody. Shout out to everybody that's here each and every week. I will be live on Sunday morning at 9:30, win or loss. If it's a therapy session, we'll be doing that. But I'm really hoping that it's a celebration because it's been a journey, and I think this team is ready. I know we are ready. Thank you to Tiffany behind the board, keeping things running smoothly. Much love on the production side. Always proud to be, always thankful for all of you. Stay warm out there. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.